Against the backdrop of the rapidly deteriorating situation of the armed forces of Ukraine on the battlefield, Western leaders began to lose their minds with the realization that Russia's victory in this conflict was simply becoming inevitable. On the one hand, it is possible to understand the resentment of Western leaders, since Moscow's victory in this conflict will finally destroy the old world order and put an end to the unipolar world. Moreover, Russia's victory in this conflict will also mark the beginning of the end of the North Atlantic Alliance. Western leaders are well aware that if Russia wins in Ukraine, then the remaining authority and influence of the United States around the world will simply be destroyed. For more than 2 years, the whole world has been watching how Western countries, led by the United States, are waging a real hybrid war against Russia, using Ukraine as a bargaining chip. During these 2 years, Western countries, led by the United States, have done everything possible to destroy Russia and bring Moscow to its knees. However, as time has shown, the multi-billion-dollar military aid project for Ukraine and the supply of modern types of Western weapons to Kiev, including NATO military instructors and active-duty soldiers and officers, could not turn the tide of the war in favor of the Ukrainian army. Moreover, even unprecedented Western sanctions have failed to weaken Russia's military potential and its economy. On the contrary, these Western sanctions have even made Russia stronger from an economic point of view, making this country's economy the largest in Europe. In many ways, this was made possible thanks to the limitless possibilities of Russia and its inexhaustible natural resources. Describing the West's hybrid war against Russia, even the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, said that the West had suffered a crushing defeat in the confrontation with Russia. According to him, Russia is a real superpower that cannot be defeated not only on the battlefield, but also with the help of economic sanctions. President of El Salvador Nayib Bukele noted that no country in the world could withstand such large-scale and unprecedented Western sanctions. According to the Salvadorian leader, thanks to its production capacity, powerful scientific base, and inexhaustible natural resources, Russia has won a complete victory in the economic struggle against the West. The fact that since 2014, Russia has dared to go against the West to protect its own national interests, has inspired the countries of the global South and made it clear to them that the dominance of the West has come to an end. Now, before our eyes, the world is changing rapidly, gradually getting rid of the unipolar world order, where the countries of the global South did not have the right to comply with their own national interests. And those countries that tried to show at least some initiative, respecting the interests of their own citizens, were immediately destroyed by Western leaders with the help of so-called color revolutions and political coups. And now, in 2024, seeing how the West is suffering a crushing defeat in the confrontation with Russia, the countries of the global South finally have hope for a better future. Now these countries were given the possibility to use their natural resources not to enrich Western countries, but to develop their own economies. Just a decade ago, the arrival of a multipolar world seemed to be a distant dream for many. However, Russia's harsh actions and Moscow's determination to defend its own interests no matter what, gave a powerful impetus to the development of a multipolar world, prompting the countries of the global South to start fighting for their national interests and finally say no to the West. Even Turkey, seeing the rapid approach of a multipolar world and the decline of the old world order, decided to submit an official application to join the BRICS. Surprisingly, the West's ally, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, recognized that the future belongs to the BRICS and the countries of the global South. According to him, the West is rapidly losing its influence, and that the geopolitical center of gravity is shifting away from countries with developed economies. A few days ago, Azerbaijan and Thailand also submitted official applications to join the BRICS. Currently, the BRICS members are Egypt, Russia, Brazil, China, India, South Africa, the United Arab Emirates, Ethiopia, and Iran. According to Russian President Vladimir Putin, as of 2024, 30 more countries have expressed their desire to join the BRICS. Vladimir Putin noted that against the backdrop of the approach of a multipolar world, the BRICS is only getting stronger every year, and that this only strengthens multilateralism for equitable global development and the security of world countries. Meanwhile, seeing Russia's successes on the world stage as well as on the battlefield in Ukraine, Western leaders simply began to go crazy, bringing humanity closer to World War III. The invasion of the Ukrainian army in the Kursk region horrified all world experts and analysts. The fact is that everyone understands perfectly well that without the military support of NATO and the Pentagon's intel, the Ukrainian army would never have been able to carry out a military operation in the Kursk region. All this has once again proved that the West, being desperate, is ready not only to cross all Russia's red lines, but also to escalate the conflict openly. The last straw in Russia's patience was the fact that Western leaders began to declare that they would allow Ukraine to strike with long-range Western weapons deep into Russian territory. Russia's harsh reaction to such statements by Western leaders was not long in coming. In particular, Russian President Vladimir Putin bluntly stated that if the Ukrainian army begins to strike with long-range Western weapons on the territory of Russia, it will mean that European countries, including the United States, have decided to enter into direct conflict with Russia. Putin has openly warned that Russia will give a tough response to Western countries, including the United States, if Ukraine starts using long-range Western weapons against Russian territory. Against this backdrop, I would also like to draw your attention to the statement by Deputy Chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation Dmitry Medvedev. In particular, he said that Western leaders think that Russia will not dare to use its nuclear weapons because of missile strikes on Russian territory, and therefore they are escalating the conflict. Yes, we really don't need a nuclear conflict. However, the prerequisites for Russia's use of its nuclear weapons have already begun to appear, including the events in the Kursk region. Russia continues to show patience, which sooner or later will come to an end. Everything is going to the point that Russia will use nuclear weapons because of these pompous Anglo-Saxon maniacs in London and Washington, Dmitry Medvedev said. Well, my friends, it seems that the West is really poorly aware of the seriousness of the situation and will bring the level of escalation to such a state, when a giant nuclear cloud in the form of a fungus will appear not only in Central and Western Europe, but also in London and Washington.